Hi everyone and welcome to the Emergence Investment Conference. I'm here today with Lisa Wade, the CEO of DigitalX. Lisa has a wealth of experience in finance and blockchain project development. Welcome Lisa. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks very much. Hi.
Amazing. Now, Lisa, with your extensive background in finance and blockchain, what do you believe are the most significant trends that are shaping the digital asset investment landscape today?
Well, I think there's probably only one answer today, and that's the Bitcoin ETFs. But if we dig a little deeper, there are a few bigger answers. But right now, topical and front page of every paper is really this huge volume that's going into the ETFs that have listed in the US, and that's unprecedented in the digital asset space. So just to give some perspective, Bitcoin miners currently mine around 900 Bitcoin a day, and then that will halve. 900 is probably a little bit high. Actually, that will halve. I'm just trying to simplify the maths in April, and the demand from the ETFs is around 12,700 Bitcoin per day.
Wow.
Now, we did, as an industry, have some hangovers from 2022 and things like that, and a lot of that supply is drying up. So we're seeing this real demand supply crunch happening, which is driving prices higher. And, a lot of us were expecting sort of a little bit of a retracement before we tested all-time highs, and it's really looking like we'll test those all-time highs, potentially going up in a straight line, which, as a follower of financial markets, it's quite something when you see that happen. And, we are witnessing that now. And then, at DigitalX, we're quite crypto geeks. So we do look outside of Bitcoin, although we're quite heavily Bitcoin dominant in the fund. And what we think is that you'll see Bitcoin test all-time highs, and then people start to move into the smaller crypto space. You've obviously already seen some parabolic returns in some of the smaller crypto. So we'll probably see everybody move right up the risk curve, and then everybody will be talking about Web3 again. And really that is this shift of financial rails, and that's what we invest in, these new financial rails.
Amazing. That's very insightful, Lisa. Now, could you elaborate on how projects like Project Atom and Project Carbon have actually influenced or reflected these emerging trends, particularly in terms of their impact on sustainable finance and central bank digital currencies?
Yeah, so they're really interesting projects because they seem so long ago now. We were just talking about Project Atom, I basically did from my couch during COVID, because a lot of the project meetings were in the middle of the first lockdown, and we were joking because the camera wouldn't work at NAB. So it's like a holiday being on a Teams call.
Right.
And then it's still so relevant today because both those projects, we really, the underlying was this tokenization of real world assets. And at DigitalX, that's our huge theme for 2024. When you see me online going #scale up, I'm not actually talking about Bitcoin. I'm talking about this transition to the Web3 financial rails, which is this tokenization of real world assets. And Bitcoin's just a really convenient headline now, so people start to see the possibility, and it really requires that belief. But inside of those two projects, what we did was create digital twins. In Project Atom, it was a syndicated loan. In Project Carbon, or Carbon Place as it's now called, and it still exists, that was carbon contracts. And that work really is foundational to what's happening today. We see a lot of headlines around JP Morgan and UBS. They invested in the platform that we co-created to develop those projects, and it really is foundational work to what we're doing now, which has come right into what DigitalX is doing, which is we've got our DigitalX Asset Reference Token Fund, which is a real-world asset tokenization fund. Innovation inside an innovation, because we've gone one step further and tokenized the whole fund itself, and we can slow that down and unpack that a little bit more later. But using that technology to then create investable portfolios for people using those assets. And then inside the fund, there's this sort of velocity of returns that happens, or we call it the token advantage multiplier for the returns, where in the housing asset reference token fund, what we've done is we've given people the opportunity to buy a house, and they were locked out of the housing market.
Right.
And if you think about it, those assets for investors have previously been inaccessible because the bank lends the money. Right. So we've added a piece into the financing value chain which offers different types of returns for risk reward in a portfolio.
Yeah.
And then we have another type of tokenization advantage multiplier, which is capital velocity, which is something I worked on a lot at NAB, and that started in Project Carbon, of taking vertical multiple slices of the balance sheet, and then being able to issue loans faster.
Yeah.
And we're really doing that inside of the DART fund for smaller funding. At the moment, it's just the really simple DigitalX balance sheet. We own a share sales company. We do T0 sales, and we fund that T2 every 2 days. And that velocity of returns, investors have never been able to access that either. So it's super exciting. And I know it sounds really geeky, but all you need to remember is real world asset tokenization, and that will scale up this year. And this time next year, I don't think we'll be talking about Bitcoin. I think we'll be talking about that.
Amazing. That's wonderful, Lisa. Now, given your involvement in various blockchain projects, what advice would you give to startups and investors that are looking to navigate the complexities of the digital asset space, especially considering the rapid evolution of regulations and market dynamics?
Yeah, look, so at NAB, we called it playing the regulatory advantage, and that's something I've taken as a mantra inside of DigitalX. And really, because we're a listed Australian company, my advice would be regulation is really important. Risk is really important. Pay attention to all of those things. We are dealing in finance. Finance is highly regulated. Don't think you're unregulated. You are. And really put that in your crosshairs front and center. And then there's just this whole innovation piece where what we're doing is kind of unbelievable. And so as a founder, you have to have so much belief. And if people don't believe you, just keep on telling the story, because after the last no comes a yes, and it really is that persistence. And if you look at our real world asset tokenization opportunity, we're still incubating that on balance sheet. I still go to a lot of meetings where people don't really get what we're doing, and it's so hard to explain new things. So I'd also say is set up education programs, because that's the next thing we're doing at DigitalX is really setting up these education programs so that we can really simplify the words coming out of people like me, because you just get so deep in the weeds. So I would say just simplify what you're doing, educate people. We just have a mantra: educate, educate, educate. Don't give up. And just that word belief. I heard my chairman say it at our annual general meeting this year, maybe about 10 times. And that's when I really knew, I've been at DigitalX 2 years almost to the day, and I really knew that's the right place to be, because you need that long-term view. We've all got to play the short game. 2022 happened. As a CEO, I've got to focus on cash flow. I have to nurture my team through that to deliver value for shareholders, grow the cash flow. But at the same time, you have to have that longer vision and that belief.
Amazing. That's very great advice that you've shared with us today, Lisa. And I'm sure that the viewers watching it would really benefit from it.
Thank you.
Now, can you share what do you believe are the most exciting opportunities and challenges for the digital asset investment in the next 5 years?
Yeah, so obviously I see challenges as opportunities, and we're most excited about what we call Web3. And in our crypto fund, we focus on thematics. So all the words that have been coming out of my mouth, actually, they're investment themes, because if you talk about real world asset tokenization, the technology that creates the infrastructure for that and the infrastructure build is the most exciting investment opportunities of our generation. And you might have super geeky terms like layer 1 blockchains, layer 2. You've got this year's the year of the Ds. We always had DeFi since 2017 or maybe a little bit earlier, but now I've got the DPINs and the DSoc. And then the biggest challenge is this scalability. And last year I went out on a limb and said 2023 was the year of real world asset tokenization, and we saw a lot of projects, and maybe or maybe not it was. And then this year I'm saying is the year of scaling up, because the biggest challenge is this subscale space that we're playing in. We are still minnows when it comes to finance. Like Bitcoin might be number 10, I think it was today, of market capitalized assets in the world. It still has to 13x to do what people call a flippening, which is overtake gold as number 1. And then when you're looking down in these really exciting themes like ZK rollups and decentralized infrastructure and data validation, and even the intersectionality of blockchain and AI, you're talking about really small 50 million market cap opportunities, very much like the early days in carbon. And that's the biggest challenge. So we all need to grow together, and that requires, again, education and belief, because these investments are highly volatile. And our funds have performed so well. Bitcoin fund number 1 Morningstar, crypto fund number 3, 116% return. It's risk reward, right? The risk is very high, and so it takes a lot of belief to actually be able to have that type of risk appetite in a portfolio.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Lisa, before we wrap up our interview today, can you share any key takeaways or reflections based on your experience being here today at the Emergence Conference?
Oh, yeah. Look, I think that what I'm loving is the optimism. I sort of have a bit of a positivity bias, so perhaps I'm not listening to the naysayers, but I'm really inspired by the role that Australia is really playing in this. It's nothing short of a technology revolution that's happening, and I'm really inspired by the positivity, and, you know, my peers are all here. There's some really great forward thinkers here, and I think, you know, as I said, it takes belief, and I'm inspired by the positivity in these four walls, or maybe there's about 16 here.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Lisa. It has truly been a wonderful conversation here with you today. And to our viewers, thank you so much for joining me for this interview. I look forward to seeing you all in my next interview. Thank you.
Thank you.